Here's what no one tells you about quitting your corporate job. My name is Leslie. I am your favorite nurse yogi, and I want to share with you 3 things that I wish someone told me after I decided to quit my corporate job after working here for 8 years. Yes, 8 years, which is pretty much a decade, right? I'm just going round up. And I truly believe that the pandemic warped my sense of time. Let me know down below if you can relate to that, where I would not probably have been at this job for that long. But between the pandemic, between having 2 kids, one of my children, particularly, I had 2019. So let me just give myself an introduction if you are new here. My name is Leslie. I am your favorite nurse yogi. I said that already. Who the heck am I? I am a registered nurse with 12 years of experience. I'm also a certified yoga instructor with 5 years of teaching experience. I've been practicing yoga personally since 2009, and I am a mom. So going back to my children, I have a kid that was born in 2018, and then my other kid was born 2019, and then 2020 was the pandemic. So I was becoming a new mom. It was the pandemic. Thank God I had a job, and thank God I was able to transfer within my organization to work a remote job. And within all of that, here we are, it's 8 years later, and I'm like, I'm ready to go, right? So we're going to share 3 tips on what I wish somebody told me. I am actually going to a different corporation, so I'm not leaving corporate America yet. And I say yet because I am also a business owner. So I, like I said, am a certified yoga teacher. I have my own business, Leslie Does Wellness, where I show women how to put themselves first through the use of yoga. So your girl has been doing that for 5 years now, and I'm not there yet of fully, taking the big leap, but catch me. I'm recording this here. I'm documenting that I will be leaving corporate America in the next 2 years. That's scary to say. In the next 2 years, this next job I'm going to will be my last job in corporate America. Okay, I pulled the mic away because I'd be getting really, really excited. I'm also going to link the video where I share just other things related to, like the first video that I dropped related to me leaving my job. And I forget what that video's name, but I'm going to leave that down below in case you just want to binge and get the beginnings of everything. So the first tip is the emotional aftermath is more complex than you expect. So this just means that quitting doesn't feel like instant freedom. And in my case, and I feel like I'm foreshadowing my life, if you will, because when I leave this next job within 2 years to fully pursue Leslie Does Wellness, and that will mean like financially wise, fully make that leap. Like I'm going to be well prepared. I don't want to say I'm going to be debt free, but I'm going to pay off the debts that I need to pay, the ones that the bill collectors keep calling. I'm just going to keep it a buck. Bill collectors, I do have bill collectors calling, but I'm like, I don't got it right now. There's other bills that take priority at this time. So I just want to be in a space where certain bills are paid off. Certain credit cards are like, it's really like the credit cards. I just want to be done with those and then have like, what do they say? Like 6 months of savings. Then I will feel like fully ready. And I know I can do that because of my business. So I have my business, but also within that, I also do content creation. I also do UGC. So that's another video where I can explain if you're like, what's the difference? Like, what is UGC? What is content creation? Like I do those things, which has given me other opportunities to make money. And I also do speaking engagements where I have gotten paid. So I am doing all of the things. I also have, enough about me. You don't care about that. But quitting doesn't feel like instant freedom, meaning that even though I properly, gave my 2 weeks, and it's in that video below of how I did all that and why I think it's good to give your 2 weeks to an employer. I don't think you should just get out and dodge. I do have that characteristic of ghosting, getting out and dodging in previous jobs that I've had as a nurse. I don't recommend it. That's burning bridges, because you might need to go back to said employer for whatever reason, and you want to leave on the best foot, right? So once I put my 2 weeks in, it wasn't relief. Like, I thought I would feel more relief, like, oh, but as soon as I sent that email to my supervisor, putting my formal 2 weeks in, I was kind of like, oh crap, like, I'm leaving. Like, I thought I'd feel free, and no. And even when, this is what I'm getting at, even when I leave the next job to fully pursue Leslie Does Wellness, I know I'm not going to feel like an instant sense of freedom or relief. I feel like I will be terrified, if I'm going to be honest, but I know that words have power. I'm going to feel rooted, I'm going to feel grounded, and I'm going to feel supported when I leave this next job to fully pursue Leslie Does Wellness. Words are powerful. I tell that to my kids, which really I'm telling it to myself. Relief and grief can exist at the same time. So what does that mean? I didn't feel a sense of relief. I said that to you guys already. But then there is this grief of like, dang, like, I kind of am going to miss my, like, I don't know if I'm even going to miss like like there's like maybe one person that I will miss, but it's mostly grieving the structure, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, like the knowing what's the monotony, if you will, like grieving, like, okay, I know when I clock in, I have to do boom, boom, boom. I know how my supervisor is. I know how my teammates are. I know I can reach out to this person, but don't reach out to this person. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know these things. So that grief of just like, oh gosh, you can be excited and unsettled. So again, you can be excited and unsettled. I feel like right now I'm more so on the unsettled side. I'm not really excited. I am supposed to be getting the equipment for the new job, like part 1 of 2 packages today. Maybe then once I get the package, I'll feel more excited. And then why your body doesn't immediately calm down after leaving. So like I said, as soon as I sent the email, I was like, oh crap, like, she didn't. And then when I sent the email, I was like, oh my God, why didn't she immediately wrote back? Oh my God, did I do something wrong? Is she mad at me? Like, immediately. And I have to reread the 4 Agreements. If you have not read that book, I highly recommend it. And one of the 4 agreements is do not take things personal. And I think the other one is like, it's not all about you. Or I might be putting those one in the same, but pretty much one of the main agreements that I took away from that book is like, you can't take things personal, and it's not all about you. Like, when you reach out to somebody for something and they say no, like, most of the time, it has nothing to do with you. So with me, when I sent that email to my supervisor and she didn't immediately reply, and I feel silly even saying that out loud, I can't be like, oh my God, is she mad at me? No, Leslie, like, 9 times out of 10, people ain't mad at me, right? Letting go of routine and familiarity is a loss. So going back to that point too, of relief and grief can exist at the same time, and how I said, yeah, I am grieving the routine and the familiarity of this current job. And so that's where I kind of am like, I feel a little tender about it. So let's close out point 1, which was the emotional aftermath is more complex than you expect, with this. Leaving something familiar, even something good, activates the nervous system, right? And I have a script, so that's why I keep looking to my left, your right. But I feel like a lot of the times when somebody leaves a job, a marriage, a friendship, whatever it may be, people assume that something bad happened. Like, you probably thought I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, my job was toxic. It was a toxic work environment. No, it wasn't. Like, there was, towards the end, I noticed that they started to just add more to the job description. I'm going to put my chair down a little bit. I feel like, oh, you see my dog? That's my dog. I forgot to say that at the beginning of the video. If you're still here, it's my dog right there. But I feel like when people leave a situation, a job, people think it's because something bad happened. That wasn't my case. In fact, because of my yoga practice and how in tune I am with my body, and I'm just like you, I'd be ignoring things at times that happen within my body, but with this job over time, I'm like, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Y'all, we weren't doing all this a couple years ago. Why are you adding this and not increasing my pay, right? And that doesn't mean the where I work is bad, but at the same time doing better, getting paid more and not having to do as much. And I believe that I deserve that in this phase of my nursing career because I have been in nursing for 12 years. I've been in healthcare for 14 years because so when I was in nursing school, I worked as a tech, or they call it a CNA, like a certified nursing. It was a tech because I did it right after school, like during my nursing, when I was in college to become a nurse. I didn't get certified as a nursing assistant because you can get certified to be a nursing assistant, CNA, or you can be a tech. It's like, so the tech, the reason I say that I was that is because I was in nursing school. So I was learning everything and more than the CNA. So I just call myself tech. But it's the same thing. We're still wiping butts. And nurses, you are wiping butts too when you work in the hospital. But so the first, while I was in nursing school, those 2 years, because I did my associates, and I can let me know if you have any questions related to how I went from my associates to my bachelor's, and then I attempted to get my psych NP but didn't. That's a whole nother video. But I've technically been in healthcare for 14 years, which that's wild to say. So with that being said, I lost my train of thought with that, but it's fine. It is fine. Let's just move on to point 2. This is real life. Point 2, quitting reveals how much of your identity was tied to the role. So quitting reveals how much of your identity was tied to the role. 8 years isn't just a job. It's a part of how you saw yourself, right? So 8 years, the other point is slowly creeping back up. And I'm like, what was it because it was good, guys. It was good, but it's gone. Circular track. That's what my mom always says. It's a circular track, like your brain. So that it's gonna come back. So these 8 years of working at this organization, I don't really this point. If anything, because within the 8 years, I also started my own business. I was more so trying to identify myself as an entrepreneur versus a nurse because I was embarrassed that I was a nurse who didn't work in the people's hospital. I'm pausing on purpose because you may be like, girl, you're a registered nurse. You went to school. I passed my boards first time. Clock it. You did that. And the reason I had shame about saying that I was a nurse once I came to this job is because I wasn't in the hospital. And then especially during the pandemic, I'm thankful that I wasn't in the hospital during the pandemic because I had 2 kids under the age of 2. I would have been terrified. My husband, he has a really not the best immune system. I had no business being in the hospital, but I felt I was dang, me being the real front lines, I'm not. I do that a lot. I discredit what I'm doing. And it's because when I worked, so I did work in the hospital. I worked in the hospital about 6 years because those first 2 years I said I was a tech, and then it was 4 to 5 years. So the first 2 years I was a tech, and then the 2.5, 3 years I was working as a registered nurse. I went all the way from med surge to ICU, and ICU is creme de la creme. Talk to me nice. You only have 2 patients, but if you know already, if you're a registered nurse watching this and you're debating having a career pivot, when I say only 2 patients, and let me know down below if you work ICU at this time of watching, what is the nurse to patient ratio at this time? I would love to know. Tell me down below because I'm pretty sure they trying to do 3 patients on an ICU floor, which is dangerous. That is not safe. That is not patient safety. They want to talk patient safety all day in these hospitals, but they are giving nurses more than we can handle, right? And then that causes injuries to your patients, that causes medication errors. All what those 2 things are: money. Okay. So, and that goes with policy changes and those type of things, right? But So I worked ICU for 6 months, hated it. And when I applied, I was at that time was just trying to find my way. I was trying to find my niche within nursing because my mother-in-law, who is now retired from nursing, when I first became a nurse, I was like, I hate this. I hate this. I thought this was supposed to be the dream. I work 3 days, get 4 days off. When, truth be told, if you work night shift as a nurse, if you work 3 days straight, which that's what they say you should do as night shift, especially because it's not how our bodies normally should be, like being awake, during the night, like that's not normal. They always suggest like do the three nights in a row, so then you can like regulate yourself as best as you can and have the 4 nights off. But really that third night shift, that day you're off. Which so say for example, I just work because like right now it's like 11:55 a.m. So I'm technically sleeping right now. I'm gonna sleep my first day off. So really I have like 3 days off, but really I don't have 3 days off because if you're a mother, you're taking kids to sports, or you're having to clean, or you're having like there's all these errands you have to do, which so then really you have like 1 day to yourself, if that. So anyways, I worked ICU those 6 months. And there was a person, this is where the shame came, because somebody actually said the quiet thing out loud, right? Or not really the quiet thing out loud, but this ICU nurse was a male nurse. He was like, nurse case managers and like those nurses that do utilization management that just click, 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 they're not real nurses. And I remember him saying that, and I was just a bystander in the like conversation, if I remember correctly. I don't think he was directly talking to me, but I heard him say that. He said case managers and utilization management nurses that just click, click, click. Like I remember that part. Click, click, click. They are not real nurses. And I remember hearing that and working the ICU floor and being like, but I hate this. So like and at the time I was considering, I think that's what it was. Because when you're a nurse, we all are always like, okay, there has to be something better. We're always looking for the next, because it's always like in the hospital, especially, there's like not really like work-life balance. It's hard in the hospital, right? So you're just trying to look for ease, because when you went through nursing school, it was hell. So it's like you go from one hell to the next. So you're just like, how do I get out of this hell and maybe go to a better one? So I remember I was considering like going into case management because which that's why I have my business now. I like the aspect of patient education. That's why I have my YouTube, because I love educating people on their health. Like that's really like the underlying theme of my whole channel, of all my social media, is that I love to educate you on your health. I love to make it very simple, because people like to complicate stuff, and health is not complicated. I truly believe your health is not complicated if you take care of yourself preventatively. Okay? And I created a whole 12-week health program. So if you want to know more about that, I don't want to leave all these links, but I will try my best to leave that linked below, because I truly believe when you take care of yourself preventatively, you can live a longer life, God willing, and you will save yourself thousands of dollars. Thousands. My program is less than that. There's tier 1, tier 2, and then if you want to work with me, that is thousands of dollars, because it's one-on-one. But if you do tier 1 or tier 2, it is the price might change whenever you record this, but it's going to save you a lot of money. And so I realized hindsight is 2020. At the time when I was like, I just want to go to this, it was because I was trying to like find the easy way out. But now as I reflect on my 12 years of being a registered nurse, it's because I've always loved to educate, specifically when it comes to diabetes, heart disease, like heart health. Those two things, I'm like, yeah, because a lot of people have those things in America. You either have high blood pressure, type 2 diabetes, or you're pre-diabetic. Like those are the things, right, that people have. And there are a lot of things you can do: exercise, eating well, sleeping, taking your medications, right? These things you can do to keep you at a baseline so you live a healthy life. Okay. So I knew I wanted to do case management, but then I hear that nurse say, click, click, nurses aren't real nurses. So then I have this hesitancy. But at the same time, one thing about me is like, I'm going to do what I want, even if like I don't, around me. And maybe I don't know if this is people pleasing, but around me, people are saying otherwise. I'm going to do what I want to do because something doesn't feel right. And I know that because of my yoga practice. Because like I told y'all, I've been practicing yoga since 2009. So I've always known since then how to listen internally, how to listen to my intuition, right? So I was like, whatever, if he's going to say that, whatever, but I'm going to apply for this job. I applied for a case management job. I got it. Let me drink some water, y'all. I got it. I worked it. It was Monday to Friday in office. This was right before I had my kids. And I was like, okay, like I can do this. And it was specifically helping kids that were special needs. So it was helping the kid get all their things they need and the family. So I was on the phone with parents all day, every day. And just making sure they got, the car seat, the speech therapy, the behavioral, like I made sure I did all of that for these families, right? But then I would have this embarrassment, like if I talked with somebody. So let's fast forward. So like 3 years after that, I then work where I currently am at. And then fast forward again, about 3 years into working the current job that I'm about to leave, I started my own business because this was in the pandemic. This was right after I had my second child. I was having postpartum intrusive thoughts. And then I sought out a therapist and a life coach. I transformed my life. And while working with the life coach, that life coach was told that, so she has her own community. So this yoga school reached out to my life coach and was like, hey, share with your community that if they are Black, we will give them a free yoga 200-hour yoga teacher scholarship, because this was right after George Floyd and all of that a lot of organizations were like, we want to help Black people, right? So I took that and I ran with it because I was like, I want to know how yoga made me feel good, how after every low that I have, yoga is an underlining theme. It always picks me up. I want to learn now how it did that. Mind you, at that time when I first signed up to start that certification, I wasn't thinking about becoming a business owner. I just was like, I want to know how. And then towards the end, they give you like one little course where they're like, how to monetize yoga and be business. And I was like, okay, I guess. And that's where I started my business, Lesline Does Wellness. Okay. So with that being said, that was a long-winded way to say that it wasn't that me quitting like my identity. I tried to run away from nursing because of what that one person said. And then now, most of my career has been outside the hospital. I felt like people didn't think I was a real nurse. And this is like, it's so hard to say that because it's so interesting how you'll ruminate. And I can only speak for myself, but I think it's so important that I'm not telling you to create a YouTube channel, but I think I believe that video journaling, like this is what I'm doing. I believe video journaling is more powerful. Well, I don't want to say it's more powerful, but it can be as powerful as just writing journaling. Like when you journal and you write things down, it unlocks something in your brain because you realize that when I ruminate, sometimes the thought isn't even full, because when I just told you how I didn't want to tell people I was a nurse when I started my business because I had shame that I was not a real nurse. But then when I started my business and I was getting clients, people told me that they came to me because I was a nurse. I was like, how you know I'm a nurse? I didn't lead with that, And so that just showed the power of my unique value proposition, is that like what makes me different in this landscape of what we call wellness, because wellness is now $1 billion industry, and I'm over here like second guessing my business and and I'm like, well, Suzanne, we always use Suzanne in these videos, you won't realize that Suzanne already has her Pilates thing, and Suzanne has her wellness business. What makes me unique? Like, why will people want to work with me? And God will show you through people. God will talk to you through people. People literally are like, it's because you are a nurse. Like, I trust that, right? And so, woo, if you're still here, but that, I know that like this is helping someone. So titles, routines, meetings equal, well, I don't like what that, this is a script that but then also what happens too is like, say, and that would never happen, but say I was like, I'm not going to do yoga anymore, right? Then I'm going to be like, who am I now? And I feel like that's what happens when you leave a job. You're like, well, who am I now? And what just came up for me too is like when people are like, who are you? Like, what do you do? And you immediately go to your titles. And then also if you're a mom, you can relate to this. You're like, I'm a mom. But who are you outside of being a mom? Who are you outside of being a nurse? Who are you outside of being a wife? Who are you outside of being a friend? Right? And I was in a coaching program, shout out to Sloan, where she did this activity where she was like, who are you outside of those titles? And I realized for me that I'm an activator. I activate people to act on that scary thing. That is power. And that gave me so much power in how I show up now. So I encourage you to ask yourself that, like, if you again are considering like, you know what, I think it's time, and it doesn't have to be because of something terrible. Like, I want you to leave before it gets terrible. Like, you know what I'm saying? Especially if you have been working in the People's Hospital for at least like 2.5 years, start looking around, or at least going to a different unit, because that also will give you the more experience you have across the healthcare system as a nurse, that's going to help you be well-rounded. There you go. So I am so thankful that I did bing bong boop throughout the healthcare system. Because at the time when I was bing bong booping and not giving my 2 weeks, I was just like, I'm done. What is this? And this is before like social media was really taking off and nurses were like making fun of how crappy healthcare is. I was like, something got to give and I got to get out. But I'm so glad I saw different aspects of healthcare, because it helped me create my 12-week health program. The last point I'm going to wrap up with is self-trust matters more than certainty. So even if you have to have self-trust, right? And so what that looks like, you notice with me, I said my yoga practice is what has helped me make these decisions, and how I developed that self-trust. Because when I tell you, anytime I do a pivot, I don't have a clear plan. Like, I am flying the plane as it's ascending. Is really rocky, but I'm going to do it. And it's because of my yoga practice, specifically the physical aspect of my yoga practice, where doing things such as headstands has helped me develop self-trust. So because of doing these physical poses that I didn't think I could do, and then I proved to myself that once I'm in the pose, like, wait a minute, you're stronger than you think. It does something to me mentally, which that something is, it builds confidence, it builds self-trust, so that even when I make a pivot and I'm not 100% sure what it's going to look like at this new job, I'm not here to say the grass is going to be greener, but I trust myself to know that I made the best decision at this time. I want to close. There's like a few more points with this. You didn't leave because everything was wrong. So like I told you all, like, I didn't leave this job because it was toxic. It just was time. You left because something inside you shifted. Yep. You don't need to have every answer to move forward. You do not need to have every answer to move forward. Trusting yourself looks like making decisions without over-explaining. If you have to over-explain, honestly, y'all, like, if you're in a relationship, well, I don't want to give relationship advice. I mean, not either. It's not mine. But if you have to over-explain to yourself, like, that, you need to, like, figure out, okay, maybe I shouldn't do this, right? You know what I'm saying? But sometimes you over-explaining is because you're scared. Like, it doesn't mean that it's a wrong decision. It's that you're scared. And you want to choose alignment over choosing alignment over familiarity. So choosing alignment over what is familiar is a practice. It takes practice. You notice I said every time I pivot, which is a lot, I'll launch things. I'll do all these different things. I'll have events and do these things. And it's a practice. So you keep doing these things. I continue to act, right? And so that has helped me also build self-trust. You do not need permission to evolve. So if you're in a season, I'm really going to close this time. If you're in a season where things look good on paper but feel off in your body, that matters. You don't need to rush the clarity. Sometimes clarity comes after the decision. So that concludes this video of what no one tells you about quitting a corporate job. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and triple points if you could share this with a friend to help them. And I will see you in the next one. Bye.